Well, someone did my hard work for me, so here we go. A list by Melissa Zimdars of fake news sites. Now, it's not a list of fake news sites. That's extremely broad brush. It's also a list of advice on how to find them and do criteria of them. And also, it should be noted that when she submitted this list to people that she wanted to read it, she was inviting critique. So this is going to be my critique of her critique of the internet. I'm going to bring up my ideas in this, but we'll just do the first part first. Category 1 she lists. We'll do this as hurricane level in reverse. False, fake, or regularly misleading, relying on outrage and distorted headlines, otherwise known as, and I'm going to list off my three, the triad of stupid. Lack of information, aka ignorance, anger, and fear. These are the things that drive you not to think. As soon as you detect them on a website, turn off all of them, get informed, don't be afraid, and don't let yourself get angry because you'll just repost stuff. This is how to create a viral phenomenon. Anyway, the rest of the information on the category 1, which are the worst case, I'm going to put in category 0 in a minute. Distorted headlines, decontextualized, dubious information for views and profit. That last part is the one that most of us on YouTube are aware of. Now, I'm going to translate liberal speak. It's actually academia speak, purely academia. Decontextualize means taking things out of context. That's all. Why not just use that expression, Professor? Next, category 2, misleading and potentially unreliable information. And this can include anything that does that. The reasoning behind it isn't included because there is an addendum to this list containing why this list was made and how. Next, any website that features loud, screaming, drunk women that can't be understood. Next, anyway, clickbaity headlines and social media description-friendly stuff is category 3. This is stuff that just goes viral immediately, and that means that their motivation is to go viral. Their motivation is not necessarily to be a news source. News is boring. News usually is in the form of a sheet of paper with lots of them put together that you buy for 25 cents in the old days, and maybe even today. Then we get category 4. Purportedly fake news with the intent of satire and comedy, which can offer important critical commentary in politics and society. See also the Colbert Report, and also the Fox News equivalent, which I just call Bill O'Reilly. Can't tell if he's Poe. Now, I'm going to make a joke like that, but that's not really a joke. I'm going to read the criteria in reverse order that was posted, because I read from the ending backwards in all novels, because I like knowing who done it, and it's always the butler. But you don't know if it's a guy named Butler or a real butler, so here we go. It's called the definitive list of 130 fake news sites. It's not. Now, I've got to point this out. Many people have attempted to make a list of bad websites. On the internet, that's like trying to find not the needle in the haystack, but find any haystack that isn't hay. Most of the websites on the net don't have a duty to be truthful. My website that I actually have one, I post things there that I think are correct, but that doesn't mean they're correct. Wikipedia is edited by a monstrous number of people. Sometimes they're trolls, sometimes not. You can find accurate information on places that you shouldn't. You can't throw these in a bucket list. But here we go with the listing. It's always best to read multiple sources of information to get a variety of viewpoints. Now, I'm going to interrupt this. You don't have to listen to every single type of opinion. If you get 100 different opinions and 99% of them are based on non-reality, you can dispose of them immediately. You don't have to give them any credit or treat them nice. This isn't a special snowflake news service. If a website regularly lies to you, or if someone's just wrong every year about the end of the world coming, stop listening to them. Just don't even comment. Don't let yourself get caught in the loop I am, where I keep disproving them. Superstation 95. So, anyway, you also have to understand different way. It's called media frames. Just go with whatever. Some sources not yet included in the list, although their practices at times may qualify for them. Daily Kos, the Huffington Post, Huffington Repost, Fox News, all of them have a problem of vacillating between providing important legitimate information and then problematic or hyperbolic news coverage, and I'm going to put in sometimes just being over-the-top biased and sometimes flipping switches. And I'd like to point out your local newspaper, including the ones in this town, deliberately have opposing viewpoints, sometimes on alternate pages. That's not bad, but they don't warn you when they're changing lanes and you might get sideswiped. They require readers and viewers to verify and contextualize, figure out what context everything's being done under. And please also understand that not just mainstream media has biases based on who pays them off. Everybody does. Even if you're the one paying them off, even if they're all supported by viewers, they're going to bias. I've changed my behavior on this channel sometimes heavily because of responses. That may be good or bad. It really depends on what happens. If the story makes you really angry, and I'm going to include, or tells you that you're wrong about everything you believed in the first place, or tells you that you should feel very, very, very sad or fearful, causes any strong emotion that has the habit of blocking rational thought, or tell you everything you know is wrong, but it's not a Fire Sign Theater album, it's probably a good idea to keep reading about the topic via other sources to make sure the story you read wasn't purposely trying to make you feel something specifically and mislead you with false information, or in my case, I'm going to also include this other thing, simply being tricky in the way they say things that they'll cause a response without overtly going out of their way to tell you that they want you to have that response. Many websites play victim, SJWs and sometimes Fox. Next. Bad website design. I'm going to give you my opinion here. I don't even know if I'll be able to finish that, mostly because of the noise in the background, but here we go. Bad website design, use of all caps, etc., could be a sign that you should verify and or read in conjunction with other sources. Now I'm going to take this another step further. Any news website that refuses to put a time and date stamp in that includes the century, year, month, day, and preferably hour, minute, and second when they posted it, and if they do an update, the same thing. I can get literally to the second, literally split-second edit quality out of Wikipedia by just going in the history of it. And I can find out who did what to who and for how many cookies and who sandbagged the page. And you find out very obviously it's not just the liberals, it's not just the Democrats. You get Republicans, Democrats, neo-Nazis, and other forms of Nazis, oh my God, editing crap on Wikipedia to where it has to be locked down. You also have people in Wikipedia doing this that won't get blocked. I got kicked off of Wikipedia using my real name once. I asked them nicely to remove all traces of me being there. Not because I'm ashamed of what I did, but because I didn't want them coming after me. Yeah, you can find this anywhere. And on that note, check the About Us tab on websites, or look up the websites on Snopes. No, look up every subject on Snopes first. No, Snopes isn't perfect, but they are not actually biased against facts. They may be biased politically, but they tell you, and they have multiple people there. Also, you might want to look up Metabunk as well. About Us tab on any page, look it up, because I also look up their domain name registrar to see who actually owns the site, or if they tried to hide that. That's really, really above and beyond, but you get the idea. Just type in who is as one word. It's called the who is function. You can get a who is program, but just use who is websites and grab the data. And the key component here is a who is website that makes you have to keep using it instead of just having a link at the top that says who is something and then it'd be like wikipedia.com. If they give you that kind of link at the top of the page, you can grab that and archive that. And on that note, again, every time you find something that's factually true that you can confirm, also check it through archive.org and archive.is or archive.sl or whatever it's called this week. It's got various names. To find out if there's previous versions of the page that might have, oh, I don't know, told you that they keep changing the story every couple of weeks because they don't want to lose the media sensation of it. Someone's bones. So anyway. But you can look on Snopes and Wikipedia for those pages. There's a Snopes page about Wikipedia and a Wikipedia page about Snopes, and there's one on Encyclopedia Britannica and Encyclopedia Dramatica and Rational Wiki. Pro tip, Rational Wiki got invaded by SJWs. As long as you know that there are people in there who are worried about their trigger warnings a little too much and call anybody who criticizes someone a misogynist, then you know what you're dealing with. You might want to see the difference on their Trump pages. I always compare a page of somebody completely incendiary and then people nobody could care about. Pee Wee Herman pages. You get an idea. Just literally compare and contrast. That's your best way to do this. That's also part of scientific inquiry. You have multiple sources you test. Test them multiple ways. Don't trust, test all sources. Next, some news organizations are also letting bloggers post under the banner of particular news brands. However, many of these posts do not go through the same editing process called vetting. BuzzFeed, Community Posts, Ninja Blogs, Forbes blogs. I also like to point out that Forbes has a bias, and BuzzFeed is painfully biased. The other thing is they'll say guest editor. For instance, there's one guy who's very reliably gone under the name Tyler Durden, who's got a bunch of biases. But if you just pick through what he says, you can find useful leads. Oh my God, you can find useful leads. He just has an overt bias. He doesn't hide it. Then that's something else I'm going to include. Even a source that's biased, that you don't agree with, you should use. I regularly look up the sites that are on this list, which I'm just going to give you a link that's an archive, so you can cut and paste it from the first line, so you don't have to watch this video if you don't want to. Because instead of watching my video, you can just grab the list and go critique it yourself. Next, laughable. Lack of author attribution may not always signify that the news story is suspect or requires verification. And again, I'm going to repeat, time and date stamp. It's something automatic websites do. Why are they missing? Because it becomes timeless, so you can recycle it next year. But on this case, lack of authorship or authentication to who did it means that it's a person doing something anonymously. The Tyler Durden guy, that I don't agree with all the time, consistently is Tyler Durden. If somebody tries to impersonate him, they kick him off. You know? It's sort of like on YouTube, you get a bunch of channels like WAPTEK, and I'm going to self-effaciously say this: don't trust what I post. Double check that I'm not lying. On a couple of videos I said go through the links. I lied about one of them, mostly because I made a dumbass mistake, but I left it in because I got tired of doing retakes. That was the 5th take, but I asked them when to find it. A bunch of people posted, they didn't even look it up. They found the correct answer and posted it as a comment, so I changed it back. I couldn't blank out that part of the video, and that's another part. Any news source that doesn't allow the uploader to legitimately post a retraction and have it be okay. If there's a throng of people who will jump all over them, like on YouTube, when they make a mistake, you might want to suspect that maybe someone isn't able to go back and fix it. Anyway, next. The other thing is lack of citing your sources, someone's bones, or just flat out being vague. Like, I heard such and such, friend of a friend, FOF. Odd domain names generally equal odd and rarely truthful news. It's not always the case, but if you're going to be using alternative news sources, you're going to find that a lot. You're going to have to vet them yourself. No one else is going to care. Watch out if known reputable news sites are not also reporting on the story. Now, this is usually called mainstream news ignores a story. It's not that they're ignoring the story, it's that they can't confirm it. And depending on the news medium, like newspaper, or sometimes radio and television, if they post something without verifying it, they're actually violating a rule, or even a law if it's a radio program. Some of them don't care. Watch out for websites that end in .com, .co, or any other double extension. I have one as well. Mine's under a subdomain. You want to double check them because they're self-published. They're not vetted, and they don't have to pay anything for the domain, so they don't have anything invested. I can put up 1,000 blogs, but that's too much work for me. But not for the people who are really spreading stuff thin. They are often fake versions of real news sources as well. Watch out if, besides the known reputable sites not covering a subject, sometimes the lack of coverage is a result of corporate media bias and other factors, but there should be typically more than one source reporting on the topic, and they shouldn't be cut and pastes of each other. Avoid websites that end in LO, like newslo or whatever. That's usually a trick to say, we're a lol site, we're a joke site. There's a bunch of them in other languages too. And when you find those, you really should assume that they're comedy sites. Now, this is the addendum that most people aren't reading back. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. And just use the 3 links below and ignore me. Bye.